What's up, folks? I'm Deeg. These are Deeg Thoughts. And I'm here today because I want to talk about an announcement that was recently made by the lovely folks over at Rogue Planet Games about upcoming features for Planetside 2. We've known for a little while that an update to the Nanite Systems fourth faction in the game has been coming, and we got to learn a little bit more about what exactly is in store for us. Now, I'm not normally a news guy, right? I think there are people out there who do a great job of Planetside news. I'm thinking of like Kamikaze78. He, in fact, just put a video out today talking about it. Commander Sirius does news content from time to time. Lots of people do this better than I do. So, the part about this that I think I'm going to try to add value to, and we'll see if I can, is actually around the community reaction to a certain part of this announcement. And I want to talk about that, the community reaction, decide if I think it's valid or what the broader context for it could be, and think about some ways to move forward from it. And yeah, Planetside community. I know we haven't talked in a little while, but I haven't forgotten you guys. All right. Due to the finite nature of time and space, I can only do so many things at once, and Planetside 2, true to my form, true to Deeg form, has always been a game that I've jumped into for a couple months at a time and then jumped out of, and lately it's been a little bit more of a jump out, but this is interesting. I think it'll be fun to talk about. Hey, Young, how's it going, man? So let's talk about it. Badoomp. NSOverhaul progress. This was posted on the 3rd. Today, as of this reading, it is the 7th of June, 2021. So this would have been 3 days ago. I can add. Yep. I can sure add. What is this? Share on Facebook. Boomer moment. Okay. Without any further ado, we're getting closer and closer to one of our largest updates this year, one that drew a lot of community excitement during the announcement back in November. Today, we'll take a moment to talk about what's on the way for the Nanite Systems operative faction. True. This is referring to the live stream at the end of last year, talking about the year ahead, where we learned about things such as the NSOverhaul, which there was quite a lot of delight in the punny nature of. And of course, the new continents, which we're definitely still excited to hear about. But here's the payoff. Rel and the boys put it right at the top. Quick stats for what's gone into the revisited NSO faction so far. 2 new vehicles, 4 new weapon HUD overlays, 4 or more new weapon reticles, 6 or more UI screen updates, 11 new directives, 15 new vehicle weapons. Here's what I'm excited about, though. 35 new infantry weapons. 40 plus new particle effects and a whole bunch of sounds. 130 plus. Team's been hard at work. Very, very exciting. So let's talk about some baseline state. So I don't really play the Robot Men, but I know that. So here's my understanding of the current state of the Nanite Systems faction in terms of gear. Nanite Systems started off as a common pool weapon type that all 3 of the main factions in Planetside can use. And if anyone's listening to this and doesn't know what Planetside is, by the way, it's an MMO, PvP, first-person shooter with 3 factions. Make a character, which normally your character is on one of the 3 factions, purple, blue, or red. However, in 2019, a new 4th faction was introduced called Nanite Systems, NS, with the idea that they're kind of like the gun dealers, and they're making these mercenary robots to come in and join the fight. And mechanically, the way they work is as a population stabilizing thing. So because it's a 3-way fight, sometimes you have one faction with more players than the others. And the way that Nanite Systems has worked up to date is whenever you log into a robot NS character on a continent in Planetside, then you're assigned the faction with the lowest population. Stabilize things. That's the way it's been. And it started off just having, I believe, all the same common pool weapons all the other factions had access to. So there wasn't a lot of identity there. But over time, more identity was added in. So there were directive weapons that were added, which are ways to progress and unlock prestige weapons that do something unique or interesting. And unique vehicles like the Javelin, which is a single-seater replacement for the buggy. Not buggy. ATV, I guess. Is that the right term? Let's say ATV. Spiffy, you want a link? I can drop a link. There you go, bud. Right now I have links turned off from everyone else because I keep having bots show up and drop stuff in here, which is no bueno. All good, man. So that's the way it's been. So seeing that the faction is getting a whole bunch of new faction flavor that's going to be unique to Nanite Systems and not just more common pool stuff, not just directive stuff, is very exciting. It's the promise of building this out into a proper fourth faction. I'm not really sure how these numbers stack up with the other main factions. I probably should have looked that up before I sat down and look at this, but 35 infantry weapons is a lot. I think on my when I play, I typically cycle through like less than 5 infantry weapons at any given session, usually. So that's a good amount and very exciting to me personally. And so what else is really important about this? 2 new vehicles. I think this is really important. So there are certain vehicles in the game that are faction agnostic, like the Valkyrie, like the Galaxy, stuff like that. But there are other vehicles in the game that are Empire specific. So, for example, each Empire has its own single-seater aerial fighter. The Scythe for the Vanu, Reaver for the new Conglomerate, and Banshee. No, Mosquito. Banshee is the weapon on the Mosquito. I assume they're all called Banshees because does anyone pull a Mosquito without a Banshee in it? I'm not sure if I've ever seen one. And the Mosquito for the Terrans, the TR. But there's been no fighter variant for Nanite Systems, and I believe one of the ones we're going to be getting is a fighter variant, but with a twist. It's going to have 2 seats in it, so that'll be exciting to see what that looks like. And the second vehicle, I don't think we know what it's going to be, but the thing that makes sense to me, and maybe this will be clarified later on, is a main battle tank, which each faction gets one of, and historically, NS has not had. NSO faction changes. Let's continue. In this article, we won't be going into too many specifics about the actual equipment, as you'll see articles dedicated to the new vehicles, weapons in the future, but I did want to run through some of the major mechanics in play for the revisited faction. Number 1, free to play. The NSO faction was released in 2019 as a members-only benefit, and this continues to be the case today. When the new update goes live, however, the NSO faction will become free to play. Any account that already has at least one Battle Rank 20 character will receive a mission to learn more about the faction from a rep in Sanctuary. Doing so will unlock the new faction for you. Boom! I love this. This news would land a lot differently if this was all still locked behind a membership paywall. So this is a very good move. Very smart. A free-to-play NSO character is considered to be in a freelance state. This is important. Freelance operatives function similarly to how they do now on Live. Each time you deploy onto a continent, you'll be assigned to the lowest pop faction to help balance out player counts. This is exactly how this works today. So freelance is the word that's being used to describe the way that NS Operatives has worked in the game for the last couple years, up to when this was posted. Here's a change, though. Freelance characters will not be able to join outfits. This is a change because currently NSO characters can make and join outfits on the Nanite Systems faction. This is important. NSO characters will no longer be able to create outfits themselves. All NSO outfits will also be dissolved once this update hits live. We weighed our options here, and setting up free-to-play characters in this way gave us the cleanest distinction between what is meant to be aligned to a faction and fighting as a freelancer. This decision was not made lightly, and I will understand if it feels bittersweet for the handful of NSO outfits that have found some success. Sip. Reading on. Selecting a home faction. All access members on NSO characters will now be able to align themselves with either VS, NC, or TR factions on a semi-permanent basis, and be able to join an outfit in the faction. One of the main complaints surrounding NSO as a faction, aside from its limited arsenal, is that players wanted to be able to play with friends and outfit mates. This goes a long way towards addressing that complaint. Players aligned with factions can still opt into freelance mode. For example, if you want faster queue times or none of your friends are online, on a temporary basis, while retaining allegiance to your outfit. Additionally, you can also switch home factions by acquiring a new enlistment contract on Sanctuary. You'll need to leave your current outfit in order to switch factions, however. So, people who are current paying members who are using the NSO faction and are in an outfit for NSO, which I think it must be said and admitted this is a pretty small minority. However, they do exist. For those folks, they are being asked to accept that their current outfits on the robot factions will be dissolved, and that they will have to align with one of the three main factions and join an outfit in one of those main three factions in order to continue the social outfit experience that they've been having. So for these folks only, this is going to be very different. For anyone else who's playing the game, I think this is all upside. Yeah, I think that's true. I think for most players, people who either play NSO independently by themselves, outside of an outfit, or for people who don't engage with NSO at all, this is all upside. Lanzer says, this update does really seem like a great unique mechanic to introduce into the game. Instead of the true fourth faction, it's a mercenary faction. Pretty neat to think about how this will influence the meta if it does at all. I agree, Lanzer. I agree. I'm going to bop through a little bit more of this before I share some more thoughts. But this is important. This is actually what I want to mainly focus on with this talk today, is this dynamic of these players who will be losing an experience that they've had and how we should think about that. Directives. So this is good. This is really well handled, I think. With the update, NSO will receive directives that bring it in line with the way each other faction operates. So players will see new assault rifle, SMG, max, javelin, etc. directives. This did leave the original Araxium directive weapons in a bit of a weird spot, however. We've decided to allow these Araxium weapons to become a legacy gift for the players who were able to grind them out before the update. Non-Araxium variants of these weapons may end up in the black market at some point as well. I imagine this announcement might cause a rush to grind out these directives, but I want to stress that folks should do so legitimately. No stat padding, please, or risk losing their characters. You've got some time. And I know people are doing this. I've seen people on streams doing this, so yeah, it's FOMO. And it's actually, this creates, I think, a little bit of a neat moment in the game where people are actually united around doing something common and pursuing a goal that is going to go away pretty soon. You don't get a lot of these moments in modern gaming, I feel like. So it's a small thing, but it's a neat thing. I don't have much perspective on the current state of the directives that are there now. I don't know why they need replacing, but I presume that there's a good reason for that. Maybe y'all can let me know why this needs updating. But I think letting people who earned it keep it is critical, and I'm glad that's happening. And I think also letting people know that there will be a way to get the same weapons in the future is also critical. Both good pieces of communication that I'm really glad we got. So, A plus on that. Now you're going to notice that I'm probably not going to spend too much time talking about the design stuff because I'm not a game designer. I don't know if changing these directives was a good idea. But like I said, y'all let me know what you think. A bug fixes in testing. So funny, this is actually mentioned here because one of the first things that some of my friends mentioned about this announcement as soon as it went out is, "Lol, it's probably going to go out with all the NSO bugs still in the game." Apparently, there's problems with things like teleporters and jump pads. Apparently, there's problems with chat. Maybe I don't remember exactly, but well, let's see what this says. We've been addressing various bugs related to NSO since the start of the year. And while the list has gotten a fair bit shorter than it was, there's still plenty more left to do. When this update releases, we should have most of, or hopefully all of, the NSO-related bugs reported by the community resolved. I like the sound of that. As with the containment site update, we'll be reaching out to form another closed testing group before opening it up to the public. This helps us find any showstoppers before the community at large is forced to deal with them, and allows us to more easily target specific areas for testing and feedback gathering. That's good. That's good. It's a, this paragraph, these couple paragraphs can seem like a bit of a throwaway in this announcement. Like, oh, you're going to test your content? Of course you're going to test your content. Why would you need to say this? But it's a bit of a meme that people say that stuff goes into Planetside without being sufficiently tested. And I think speaking to this is a noble intent and one that I'm happy to see. Moving on. New and improved arsenal. Gone are the days of only having access to common pool weapons. This is what I was talking about earlier. With the NSOverhaul, I really digging into this. Love it. An arsenal of infantry weapons will be added with the visuals and traits unique to NSO as a faction. 2 new vehicles. Oh yeah, here's the info we wanted. Will also make their way into the NSO lineup. The Chimera battle tank and the Dervish heavy fighter. You'll hear more about these in a later article. We'll also be revisiting the Javelin and allowing it to equip weapons. Ooh, interesting. Those Javelins are weird vehicles. I wonder if this is going to be really powerful. We'll see. We'll see. As well as changing the silhouette of the Defector and expanding its arsenal a bit. Okay. Interesting. So the Defector is the max equivalent, right? Continuing on. While we still have loads work ahead of us, we'll be entering the testing cycle likely within the next 2 weeks. From there, we'll have a better read on how much longer it'll be before the NSOverhaul hits live. Thanks. Love to hear your thoughts. All right. Well, that's what we're here to do. Okay. So, how did the community take this? Well, here's what I've seen. I've seen some of the usual Planetside memes about testing and content direction. It's not content for me, therefore it shouldn't be added. That idea. You see it in every game. But I think one of the main interesting threads of community conversation that I've seen pop up has been around the group of players who I talked about earlier. Specifically, the group of players who are already having a social experience playing with NSO outfits, who are going to have their outfits torpedoed brutally. I'm going to see if I can find a good... I had a relevant thread pulled out earlier, but I neglected to save the URL, because I'm smart. Maybe it was this one. Let's see. So here's an outfit leader of an NSO outfit on Emerald. Someone named Coffee, or the Medic. Let's see what this person has to say. Hi all. Some of you may know me as my username and VS character, the Medic. Others may know me as 2 Creams, 2 Sugars, the outfit lead for the NSO outfit Coffee on Emerald. I played Planetside 2 since 2015 and have over a lot of hours in the game. I'm here to write an open letter to Rel with the upcoming NSO update. As NSO players, we know that NSO isn't perfect. Things need to be improved. For one thing, we hoped for a way to queue together in a faction for our ops. A way to queue in as other members of a faction do. This makes sense. So if you as an individual get assigned to the faction with the lowest population when you hit a continent, you and your buddies logging in at different times might not all get the same faction assignments. So yeah, I can see how that would be an issue. We like playing the Underpop faction, so we hope for this as a way to still balance pop, but be able to play together with a faction populations were very close together. As one of our members said, I would settle for always making robots wait in queue like regular players, the only difference being they can choose the queue they wait in. I don't know if this can't happen due to game code or if this wasn't something considered due to the direction the developers want to take the game. When I first heard about the choice to dissolve NSO outfits, I felt sad and defeated. I know this sentiment is shared by many others. I know the developers have tried not to make NSO a pay-to-win faction, and in so many ways have limited the capabilities of NSO players. As a result, calling NSO the pay-to-lose faction has become commonplace. I know for myself and for my outfit members, the main draw of playing NSO has been the community we've created, and our outfit is the largest part of that. We like being able to play on different factions using the same robot character, having that faction change from one ops to the next. Under the current changes, that would make us freelance, then no longer able to join an outfit. This means we lose our identity as Coffee. We no longer have our tag, or can take bases, or participate in all the other many benefits of an outfit. If we wanted to play just VS, we'd have VS characters. If we wanted to play TR, we'd play TR characters. If we wanted to play NC, likewise. What's brought us together and kept us together is our NSO identity. To echo some statements made by some of my outfit members, NSO outfits are the best part of NSO. It means we can play as an outfit in different factions. Without outfits, robots are just fancy camos in exchange for less content. Let people who want to pick a home faction do so and join faction-specific outfits. But let us NSO freelancers keep our outfits too. I know that personally, if these current changes do go through and NSO outfits are dissolved, I'll be dropping my sub as a member. I know that won't be the case for all NSO, but I also know I won't be alone. If you made it this far, thank you for reading. Please keep the comments to a respectful discussion, whether you agree or disagree. Would that we all discuss these things respectfully. So let's pick out a few things to highlight. I think the most important sentiment in here is right here at the start of this third paragraph. When I first heard about the choice to dissolve NSO outfits, I felt sad and defeated. I know sentiment is shared by many others. So let's talk about this. It's a sad day for people to come together this way and to form an outfit and to make connections that feel fun and connecting and motivating to log in and play a game like Planetside is very good for the game, is very good for its players, and it feels really good. And to lose something like this, even if just a handful of outfits, is, I think, kind of a big deal. And I want to validate this person's feelings. I really understand and empathize with what this person and people like this person are feeling. I could even take it a step further and suggest that putting these blocks together in such a way people can stack them up to form these outfits that have existed for up to 2 years, and then taking them away once the vision for NSO gets refined, you could argue is a sort of betrayal. One of the covenants that the game makes with the people who play it, when you say, here's a path, here's a feature, Here's a system. Here's a way to connect. Is that this thing will work in a certain way, and that when you make the connections and make the progress, that those things will be valued going forward. It would be kind of like if someone just banged out like all the directive weapons, only for a month later there to be new directives, the new weapons replacing the old directive weapons that were just twice as good for some reason, a double Beetlejuice or something, and that would cheapen what everyone else did before. And I feel like a betrayal. Maybe not the best comparison. I apologize. I'm spitballing here. But I just want to validate this feeling. It doesn't mean I think that what Rel and RPG are doing is the wrong idea, though. And that, to me, means that what we're working with here is compromise. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But before I do, there's another well-written post I want to read. See if I can find it. I think this is it. The Sinks person. All right. Why am I so thirsty? This is from Ryopal. Another Emerald outfit leader. I founded the NSO outfit Sinks, NSO Syndicate on Emerald. This is my open letter to Rel and those in charge of taking the decision related to the upcoming NSO outfit changes. What you're about to do is shatter the lives of hundreds of players. Okay, this person took a more melodramatic approach. The decision that was made is simply unspeakable to us. Over the course of the past year, hundreds of players worked hard to forge a faction to breathe life into it. We all created outfits, worked hard to recruit, played together for hundreds of hours, forging links with each other, and embracing our lives as independent robots of Araxis, wearing with pride our famous independent names and colors. I love the sentiment behind that sentence. Anyway, but now we are going to get forcefully attached to a faction, forcing us out of our independent flavor, and at the same time making us feel like slaves. This statement made by Rel is, in my opinion, a complete lack of respect towards us NSO players. This decision wasn't made lightly. I'll understand if it feels bittersweet for the handful of NSO outfits that have found some success. If you understood, making these changes would have never crossed your mind. Saying that you understand is a complete overstatement. I can't speak for other NSO outfits, but Sinks' goal has always been to bring balance to the Force now, and give a share of our power equally to all factions, which we accomplished with success through joint operations with outfits from all three factions. Thinking that this is going away is making me immensely sad, along with all the people that have put hard work into making this work. Please work with us. Understand that the outfit dissolution decision is just terrible. You are rendering thousands of hours of hard work pointless by dissolving what we did. Let us keep our outfits that we've had and worked on for years. Let's keep our independence. Thank you. What's this? Oh, man. Look at those planet men. Look at those planet men. Yeah, this person went to the school of rhetoric of like bold letters and triple underlines, I think. But I mean, that's the sentiment, right? We get it. We get it. Planet Robo. Planet Robots. Planet Bots. That's a good shot, actually. Oh, right in front of the three faction flags, too. Yeah, okay. So here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to engage in a design debate over whether or not I think this is a good idea and dissolving the outfit is a good idea. The assumption I'm going to operate under is one of a more central locus of control, right? Where I'm going to assume that this decision is going to go through as it is. And I'm sorry, I've been distracted because I just saw that the little the mod command that Henry helped me add is working, and that thrills me to death. Thanks again for that, Henry. I didn't have to touch it at all. It's good shit. But yeah, so going back to it. Here's my impression of the picture that is being painted here about the changes to the NSO faction. My impression is that there's a desire to centralize the identity of the NSO faction around this mercenary identity. I think there are good reasons for this, both from a mechanical perspective and for a theming perspective. Mechanically, I think that Planetside's 3 faction alchemy is kind of important. I don't know why it's important. I'm still trying to figure out why it's important, but it seems to be. And I also have the sense that setting up NSO with outfits as they were, in the state that they were, NSO has been in a transitional state for the last couple years. I think we can accept that. What was it the person from Coffee said about them being pay to lose, right? This faction has been in an unfinished state for a while, and we all acknowledge this. Now, the fact that people made something of the unfinished state and made some meaning is fantastic. Fantastic. My suggestion to people is to look at it this way. Well, no, I don't think I want to couch it that way either. I have to consider for a moment how I want to present this idea. It's clear in my head, but I just want to be sure I'm not putting across the wrong vibes here. If we accept that there are good reasons for these changes to the way that outfits are going to work with NSO, and I can see some upsides. If we can accept this, and we can accept the dissolution of the current outfits as something that's necessary to happen in order to go to this greener pasture, this more robust future state. By the way, your arguments against this in the comments, please. It's fine. But if we can accept this, then to my mind, where this leaves me is how do we honor and respect the people who have loved and lost? Speaking of putting these melodramatically. And I'm going to stand up a couple of examples of situations that I've seen in the past where something like this has happened. Let me see if I can find a good visual reference. All right. The first example I want to stand up here is the Hall of Monuments. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Guild Wars franchise, let me briefly explain. So, there are currently 2 games that bear the Guild Wars name. The first one and Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 1 came out in, I think, like 2004. They released 3 expansions very quickly. Factions, Nightfall, and Eye of the North. They all came out within a couple of years, more or less. And by the time that ArenaNet, the company making Guild Wars 1, had gotten to making the 3rd expansion, they realized that they developed themselves into a hole. They realized that the things they wanted to do with their world of Tyria, with the technology that was available to them in the current engine, and with the design hole they created for themselves by setting up a combat system based on abilities you acquire kind of like trading cards and then slot into an 8-slot deck you take out with you into the world, create an extremely complex, almost impossible to maintain balance of skill. And a game that had a heavy PvP focus, it just was very difficult for them. So they decided that rather than continuing to create expansions at the breakneck pace that was starting to break the developers who were making this game, that they were going to pivot and make Guild Wars 2. that's not the first thing they said. So, what ArenaNet did here was pretty smart. They realized that there have been people who have been playing Guild Wars 1 and been invested in it. They'd put thousands of hours of their time and effort into forming player communities, into making connections, into progressing characters, into unlocking things and building certain looks. And they knew there was a risk that people who already love their game were going to be upset at having a new game replace the experience that they already loved, and to have all their experiences and everything poo-pooed. So the smart thing that they did was they built into the Eye of the North, the third expansion, a few very important things. Number one, they put in a story transition where they started paving the way for the introduction of the playable races for Guild Wars 2. Number two, they added the Hall of Monuments, which is what I'm showing right here. How big will this picture get? That's big enough. That's big enough. Here's the Hall of Monuments. What is this? What is the Hall of Monuments? The Hall of Monuments is essentially an achievement hall. It's a place where you can achieve things in Guild Wars 1. That's part of the Eye of the North expansion, the last transitional expansion of Guild Wars 1. And everything that you unlock in the Hall of Monuments by playing Guild Wars 1 will result in an achievement and a resulting cosmetic item in Guild Wars 2. They created a linkage between the two games in order to honor people who already loved Guild Wars, give them something to work on and churn away at for a little while, and say, hey, we know that not having more of this is going to be a loss, but we want you to know we're there with you. And we want to give you a chance to show off your involvement in what was past in the future. I thought this is pretty good. This is an example of getting ahead of the problem of dealing with people feeling like their investment in a video game is not being properly honored. Well, that's example the first. Example the second. Let me see if I can find it. This is going to be a little easier to explain. Okay. Example the second is the Lord of Wolves. What is the Lord of Wolves? Lord of Wolves was an exotic shotgun in Destiny 2. And for a short period of time, this weapon was incredibly busted and deleted everything. And it completely ruined the balance of PvP in Destiny 2. For some reason, they got into a state with Destiny 2 where they could not simply patch the game to update the broken balance on this gun. They had a pipeline, they had a process, and they couldn't deal with it immediately, and they knew people were really annoyed about this gun. So what they did is they put out a message to the community and said, hey, we know this is ridiculous. Here's the thing. Enjoy the silliness for a few more weeks. For anyone who plays PvP during this time, we're going to issue everyone a free banner. This banner is a way that you can show off people that you were here, you were there for the Lord of Wolves. And honestly, as someone who's not a hardcore Destiny player, my impression is that this calmed down the community conversation around how bad this was. This was the developer indicating that they understood how players felt. Yeah, the sound, this video is insane. If I had the sound unmuted, y'all would be tweaking out. But the Lord of Wolves was ridiculous. People hate when their efforts in PvP are made to look ridiculous by a single item that just deletes things. And they couldn't fix it immediately. It was in an awkward state. But I think they made lemonade out of those lemons, where this is concerned. And my character has this banner. And I wear it sometimes because I think it's cool and kind of funny. Again, it's all about honoring the investment people have and demonstrating that you understand and giving them something back to make sure that they feel, that people feel like they're getting something out of their investment. And this is my critique of the way this was presented by RPG, more or less. Without talking about changing anything about the design here, here's the quote. This decision wasn't made lightly, and I'll understand if it feels bittersweet for the handful of NSO outfits that have found some success. I know this is still a ways off. If there's any time to still do anything about this, and if I can make a suggestion to RPG, it would be to find a way to honor the investment of these players in these communities. Doesn't have to be a big thing. Doesn't have to be a big deal. I think that what I wrote down here was this crazy idea of doing this improv where I would just kind of on the fly rewrite this, but I think I'm not going to do that. I think it's a little silly. I think whenever we're delivering what seems like bad news to any community, but especially to gaming communities, which can kind of get on their own little crazy treadmills sometimes, it's important that people understand why they should care about what's coming. This post does a good job of some of this. For example, these numbers, I think, all really speak for themselves. This is very exciting. However, I think that we could get more signal from RPG about what is good and why we should care about NSO being able to enlist with specific factions and with outfits from the main three factions. I can imagine some reasons this would be good, but I think this is an example where we could get some more communication on why to be excited about this. I know we have a new community manager at RPG. This might be an opportunity there. Just an idea. Because yeah, what people need at the end of the day isn't their NSO outfits. They don't need particular things. They need to feel like the relationship that they're in with the game and the community and the developers building the game is one that is reciprocal. And here's a moment where it is quite clearly not. So I wrote down a couple of ideas for like what these kinds of gestures from RPG could be to these people who are losing their communities. I don't know if these are good ideas or not. I really don't. Probably someone can come up with a much better idea than I can here. But here are the things I think about. Special emblems or titles to accounts for players who have NSO characters and outfits that are above battle rank 20 or something. That would be a good idea. Even cooler would be as if there is some kind of ability for, like, say, outfits that currently exist to get a version of their emblem that has some kind of like a brand on it or whatever. Like I was there. I was an NSO tester. I was an NSO researcher. Like, just create something that people can share their identity with to say, I was there during this crazy time. We built this community. We built this thing. And it was good for a little while. Because the reality is, these players are going to be able to keep, I think, most of the way they play by engaging with this next system in one way or another. Now, I don't know the ins and outs. I haven't played an NSO faction. I don't quite buy that there's no way that this new system can be engaged with in a way that can't get most of what these players are already getting. However, I do know that the sense of loss can often make it very difficult to understand what is good about an alternative. And there's an opportunity here. What else did I write down? Reserving NSO outfit tag names for outfit leaders who want to recreate another factions. Oh, so like if Sinks or Coffee want to reform their outfit on one of the three main factions, like give them like the VIP treatment for doing that. help them make sure that they get the same tag and everything, all that good stuff. That would be a good thing to do. What's another idea? Oh, here's a dumb idea. Send out a numbered digital badge certifying participation in the NSO social experiment. I guess that's what I called it here, the NSO social experiment. I think that's it. I think that's the thought. What do y'all think? Am I right? Is this just a matter mostly of communication? Or is there actually a severely flawed design problem going on here that I'm not seeing? Or am I overblowing this altogether? Am I being an apologist for a small group of people with very loud voices? I'm not immune to a sympathetic plea. Spiffy, I am a god among men. Why, thank you, Spiffy. Why, thank you, Spiffy. You know, my ego could use that today. Thank you, friend.